Good day everyone, I'm Melanio Sid III and we will be discussing integrated pest management of peanut and soybean. As an introduction, grain legumes are the main source of proteins, minerals and fibers for animals and as well as human. So they are substantially used as animal feed and substrate in the biofuel industry in developing countries and are an important source of protein in animal feed primarily for balancing amino acids in the ruminant and non-ruminant production systems. Grain legumes have a high crude protein concentration and this is usually used as soybean meal for chicken and swine feeds. So legumes fix nitrogen from air and leave traces of it in the soil. If used as intercrop, the next crop can utilize the nitrogen left behind. Most, if not all, insect pests of legumes doesn't affect rice. Thus, intercropping reduces pests and breaks the life cycle of insect pests. However, if legumes are planted continuously, it is likely that the soil will become nutrient deficient. It does not add many other nutrients back into the soil, such as phosphorus and potassium. Over time, this can lead to a decline in soil fertility and productivity. It is recommended to rotate crops and use crop rotation to restore soil fertility. This involves growing different types of crops in a specific order, allowing the soil to recover between plantings. So, hindi siya ganong kaganda pagka continuously na legumes lang yung ating tinatanim sa ating bukid. Before we continue further, this is our objectives. So in the introduction to soybean and peanut production, the identification of different pests and diseases affecting soybean and peanut, and also the integrated pest management of it. This shows on the upper photo is the soybean and the lower photo is the peanut. We start with peanut. So scientific name is Arachis hypogaea under the family of legume. Other names is earth nuts, ground peas, or in Tagalog mani. And this is used usually for edible oil, animal feed, and other products like peanut butter. So Region 2 is one of the top peanut producer in the Philippines in 2019 and until now. Of course, when we do planting of peanut, we need to consider the climatic and soil requirements, the planting material requirements, and the selection of the planting materials. And always select seeds that are intact, unbroken, and free of molds and other pests. Also take consideration with the row spacing and planting, and of course the optimum time for harvesting. We need also to consider the weed management and cultivation, as this is one of the critical aspects in peanut production. In this photo shows the pests of peanut and the types of the pests, like the sucking pest, the aphids, leaf hopper, and thrips, and the defoliators or leaf miner, and other is the borers, and the subterranean pests like the earwigs, ant, termites, and root grubs. Also other non-insect pests like mites. This table shows the different growth stages of peanut and the duration of growth stages, and including the insects that attacks during these stages. Like during the seed stage, ants can attack, and during seeding stage, the leaves and the developing roots can be attacked by aphids, cutworm, whiteflies, white grubs, and white worms. And during vegetative stage, the foliage, which is around 21 to 60 days. Armyworms, aphids, thrips, whiteflies can affect the plant. And during flowering and foliage also, the first flowers appear at 4 to 6 weeks after planting, and maximum flower production occurs on 6 to 10 weeks after planting. So again, aphids, leafhoppers, spider mites, thrips, whiteflies, and wireworms can attack the plant. And also during maturations on the pods of the peanut, that is around 100 to 150 days, depending on the variety and climatic condition. The wireworm and sometimes also termites can attack the peanut pods. So, yan. So it can be treated or by combining appropriate cultural, biological, chemical, and physical techniques in a way that lowers the risk to the economy, human health, and environment with the help of pest management experts. The sustainable method of managing pests is called the IPM, which requires extensive level of experience, of course. IPM significantly relies on understanding the interaction between pests and crops to select the most effective set of easily available pest management method. The different growth phases of peanut were discovered to be infested by many types of insect pests. So the first pest that we will discuss is ants. So ants take the sown seeds back to their colony and feed on germinating seeds and on young seedlings. They tend insect pests like aphids, scales, whiteflies, mealybugs, and other honeydew-producing insects. This action results in missing hills, thus loss of plant stand, uneven growth distribution in the field, and an increased incidence of diseases caused by the mentioned pest. There are different types that we can use as control. So there can be chemical, biological, or cultural. So here we'll just discuss the cultural practices. So increase the seeding rate and thin the plants 3 weeks after sowing. This practice turns out cheaper than with the use of insecticides. Control aphid, whitefly, and other insects that excrete honeydew. The ants are likely to be found in plants infested by these insects because ants protect them for their food. So yun, pagka may mga langgam, may hantik yung ating mga halaman, sigurado merong mga insect pest doon na naninirahan na sumisira na ng ating crops. Next is aphids. So this is the Apis crassivora. Both nymphs and the adults purse the plant tissues to feed on plant sap. So ito mga nag-purse ng dahon. The infected leaves become severely distorted when the saliva of aphids are injected into them. Heavily infested ones will turn yellow and eventually wilt because of excessive sap removal. The aphids feeding on the plant causes crinkling and capping of leaves, defoliation, and stunted growth. Aphids produce large amount of sugary liquid waste called honeydew. So ito yung hinahabol ng ating mga ants, no? Kasi nagpo-produce sila ng honeydew. A fungus called sooty mold grows on honeydew deposits that accumulate on leaves and branches, turning leaves and branches black. The appearance of a sooty mold on plants is an indication of an aphid infestation. So the eggs are very tiny, shiny black, and are found in the crevices of bud, stems, and bark of the plant. The nymphs look like young adults, mature within 7 to 10 days, and are then ready to reproduce. The adults are small, 3 to 4 millimeter long, soft-bodied insects with 2 projections on their rear end and 2 long antennae. Their body color varies from yellow, green, brown to purple. Then the females can give birth to live nymphs as well as can lay eggs. However, the primary means of reproduction for most aphid species is asexual, with eggs hatching inside their bodies and then giving birth to living young. Winged adults, black in color, are produced only when it is necessary for the colony to migrate or there is either overcrowding colonies or unfavorable climatic conditions. If we have aphids infestation, so control and kill ants, cultivate and flood the field. This will destroy ant colonies and expose eggs and larvae to predators and sunlight. Ants use the aphids to gain access to nutrients from the plants. So also avoid using heavy doses of highly soluble nitrogen fertilizers, and aphids love tender juicy leaves. Practice split application during seedling and flowering stage. We can also use sticky board traps and yellow basin traps for control of aphids. If you see if it's heavily infested, then apply any of the following insecticides. Chlorpyrifos 20% EC, 1000 milliliters per hectare, or imidacloprid or methyl dimeton 25% EC, 1000 ml per hectare. Next is the gram pod borer or the corn earworm. It's the Helicoverpa armigera. The caterpillars enter the fruit bodies and do cause damage to them as well. They leave little or big irregular eating holes on the leaves as well as dorsal and lateral stripes on the body. The eggs are pinhead size and yellow-green in color. These are found singly laid near the midrib, usually underneath the leaf. Hatching occurs within about 2 to 5 days. The larvae vary in color from bright green, pink, brown to black with lighter undersides. The larval stage lasts from 12 to 24 days. So the pupae are yellowish green and turn brown as they mature. Pupation takes place under the soil and the pupal period is 12 to 24 days. An adult male is yellow-brown while a female is orange-brown in color. It has a wing spread size of about 3.8 centimeters and each female may deposit 200 to 2,000 eggs in her entire lifetime. Total development period from egg to adult is 34 to 45 days. Next is the leaf hopper. Scientific name Empoasca kerri. The adults and nymphs of leaf hoppers suck the sap from the bottom surface of the leaves. The veins of the leaves of the plants afflicted by this pest become white, providing the crop a burnt look known as hopper burn. So parang sunog siya na. To control leaf hopper, you can spray Lecanicilium lecani at 2 to 5 grams per liter, or spray NSKE, or spray any of the one of the chemicals like imidacloprid and acetamiprid. Next is the thrips, the Scirtothrips dorsalis. This is a very common pest especially in vegetables. So both the nymphs and adults of the insect suck the sap on the leaf surface. As a result, the leaves develop white spots on their top surfaces and necrotic patches on their bottom surfaces. So also these thrips, the Franklirella scrolzae, transmitted the tomato spotted wilt virus, which I think this become epidemic in India in 1979, and this is these female thrips can reproduce sexually or asexually, so even no males, they can reproduce eggs. So on the left left photos, these are the photos of the different species of thrips. And on the right is the damage caused by the thrips. You can see on the leaves the necrosis of the leaves surfaces. To manage thrips, you can set up a blue sticky traps, or you can spray insecticide like imidacloprid and acetamiprid. Next is the hairy caterpillar or Amsacta albistriga. Maybe we can call this the budu-budu. In the early stages, the caterpillar of this insect feeds heavily on the leaves by scraping the bottom surface of the delicate leaflets while leaving the upper epidermal layer intact. Later, they devour the plant's leaves and main stem with ferocious hunger. Severely affected fields look as if animals are grazing. So parang kinainan ng mga baka or kambing yung kanilang damage. So the eggs hatch within 2 to 3 days. The length of a fully developed caterpillar approximately 5 centimeters, and it has a reddish brown hairs all over its body that sprout from warts. The pupal stage lasts for 40 to 50 days. At a depth of 10 to 20 centimeters, larvae pupate in soil cracks. Here is the photo of a severe infestation of the hairy caterpillar, which looks like grazed by the cattle. How to manage this hairy caterpillar? So we need to do for monitoring, set up bonfire or light traps, and as preventive measures, should deep summer plowing, grow cowpea or sesamum or red gram as a trap crop. The intercropping which is recommended in peanut to minimize the infestation of hairy caterpillar and leaf miner. So you can also collect the egg masses as well as young larvae and destroy them. So you need to pick and destroy them. You can also dust Malathion 5D at 8 kilograms per acre or fenvalerate 0.4D at 8 to 10 kilograms per acre. Next is the tobacco caterpillar or Spodoptera litura. This is the adult. On the upper right photo is the adult and the pupa and the larvae and the egg. This photo shows the damage symptoms, which is the symmetrical holes on the leaves under severe infestation, the defoliation of the plants occur. Makita nyo, may mga butas-butas yung ating mga leaves. As management to this tobacco caterpillar, we can install 6 pheromone traps. As preventive measures, deep summer plowing, and for chemical spray, we can use the insecticide emamectin benzoate or novaluron and lambda cyhalothrin. Next pest is the white flies. These are the different scientific names: Alurocdicus dispersus, Alurotrixus flocosus, Alerodes proletella, Demesia tabasi, Trialourdes vaporariorum. So these are the, as the name implies, these are the white flies. Both the larvae and adult spurs and suck the sap of the leaves. This causes the weakening and early wilting of the plant, resulting in reduced plant growth. Their feeding may also cause yellowing, drying, premature dropping of leaves that result in plant death. Whiteflies produce honey juice that serve as substrate for the growth of black sooty molds on leaves and fruits, and the mold reduces photosynthesis, causing the poor plant growth of the plant. They are the most important carriers of plant virus that causes disease of fiber crops, vegetables, fruit trees, and ornamental plants. Punta naman tayo sa mga insects na umatake sa roots and pods ng peanut. So, one is the white grub or Holotrichia consanguinea. The growth of the plants infested with white grubs slows down. White succulent grubs entirely or partially consume roots. The dark brown adult beetles cover up and lay their eggs in the soil once more, and the female produces clusters of 20 to 80 white spherical eggs. 9 to 11 days are the egg period. The grubs are transparent and white. It develops into a pupa in the soil itself, where it stays until the following year. With the start of the monsoon season, the adult beetle emerges. This insect completes its entire life cycle in 1 year. So, tinatawag din itong univoltine. So, kasi one life cycle is 1 year. Next is the termites. So, hindi lang sa bahay natin umaatake ang mga termites, pati din sa crops. No? So, termites, Odontotermes species. These termites penetrate and hollow out the top root and stem, thus killing the plant. It bores holes into pods and damages the seeds. It removes the soft corky tissue between the veins of pods, causing scarification and weakening the shells. So you can see on the left photo is the photo of termites, and on the right is the damage they cause to the peanut pods. On the upper part, photo left is the adult termite, and on the right side is the bigger one is the twin, and the smaller one is the king. This is a white but smaller. So how do we manage termites? We need to dig the termitoria and destruction of the twin, and use well-rotten organic manure, harvest the peanut as soon as they are matured, and apply chlorpyrifos 20 EC to control termites. Or you can also dust chlorpyrifos at 30 to 40 kilograms per hectare in soil before sowing in endemic areas. You can also do seed treatment if to reduce termite damage. Next is the wireworms. So on the left you can see the worm of Conoderus sisus, and the upper right photo is the adult wireworm. And on the lower right photo is the damage they cause to the pods of the peanut. So the adult is brown and is unique for its uniform color pattern, which makes it easier to separate from the other member of the genus. The average body length and width are 10 to 10.22 millimeters and 1.98 millimeters respectively. So the eggs are creamy white in color and spindle shape. So ayan. So binubutas-butas nila yung peanut pods. We go to the diseases of the peanuts. So we'll discuss about the aflatoxin. So the aflatoxin is a naturally occurring toxic chemical byproduct from the fungal growth of Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus on infected crops. It often occurs in plants in the field during the germination stage and prior to harvest. The pods are infected when drying is delayed and when the seed's moisture content is high that is not good enough for storage. Fungal growth and aflatoxin contamination are caused by the following factors: the warm temperature, high humidity, poor water condition, and stress. So ito yung nagmo-mold. So kung yung pagkamakita natin, no, nagkakaroon ng growth ng fungal growth. And the infected plant is usually become stunted growth. Next is the early leaf spot, the Cercospora leaf spot or Cercospora arachidicola. The initial symptom is the appearance of yellow to brown small spots on the leaves. It is characterized by circular spots that are brown to reddish brown on the upper left surface and almost orange on the lower surface. These lesions always have bright yellow halos. So you can see the photos on this on the left side. Here is the late leaf spot. So the spots are dark brown to almost black with feathery margin. The shape and size are similar to that of the early leaf spot, making the identification of both diseases difficult to distinguish from each other. This one infection starts at around 42 to 57 days after planting. Black and nearly circular spots appear on the lower surface of the leaflets. Lesions are rough in appearance and in extreme cases, many lesions coalesce resulting in premature senescence and shedding of the leaflets. Another disease is the peanut rust. So makita nyo dito sa picture parang pinakalawang, no? So the Pusinia arachidis or peanut rust is a plant pathogen that causes rust on peanut. So this is economically important biotic stress that significantly reduces the pod and fodder yield and oil quality. It is caused by the Basidiomycete fungus, the Pusinia arachidis species. The peanut rust are very tiny leaf spots or flecks that can be seen from both sides of the leaf. Powdery mass of orange to reddish brown spores are found as infection further develops, making the leaves look rusty. Another one is the stem rot. The white fungal threads develop over affected plant tissue, particularly the stem. Base of the plant turns yellow and then wilts down. Infected peanut seeds shows a characteristic bluish-gray discoloration. So makita nyo sa picture, no? Parang nabulok yung kanyang stem. Another disease is the bud necrosis or peanut bud necrosis virus. This virus is transmitted by thrips. Chlorotic spots with necrotic rings and streaks appear on young leaflets. Terminal bud necrosis occurs when temperature is relatively high. As infected plant matures, it becomes stunted, developing short internodes and auxiliary shoots proliferate. In general, we can do IPM for the peanuts using the cultural practices like using trap crops as border crops, or growing tall crops like pearl millet, sorghum, or maize to border to reduce the incidence of thrips, vector for peanut stem necrosis disease, and the vegetative trapping of RHC with twigs of Jatropha or Calotropis, neem branches for trapping adult white grubs. Yun yung mga beetle. Kailangan nating, these are the cultural practices. For mechanical control, of course, we can do collect and destruct, and also do the erection of bird perches. And weeds also growing around the field should be destroyed. And during the flowering stage, like I said a while ago, we need to erect some bird perches so that birds can sit on them and hunt the caterpillars. We can also use behavioral or botanical and biological control like pheromone traps and spraying of some biological sprays like Spodoptera litura or H. armigera. And for chemical control of leaf miners, defoliators, and hairy caterpillars, you can spray Kinalphos 2 ml per liter or Chlorpyrifos 2.5 ml per liter or Thiodicarb 1.5 grams per liter, and dusting Kinalphos 1.5% at 25 kilograms per hectare. Can also do seed treatment with imidacloprid, and that's for the sucking pest. And for white grub, we can do seed treatment with Chlorpyrifos 20 EC at 6 ml per kilogram. And we can also do soil treatment with 4-8 10 G, 15 kilograms per hectare. And the pheromone loop should be applied at an equal distance in the field. And also, imidacloprid should be sprayed for the control of bursting and sucking insects. You can also use neem oil as organic insecticides. So like we discussed a while ago, eggs and larvae of insects should be collected from the crop and destroy. We can use the pest-resistant varieties, and groundnut should not be cultivated again and again at the same field every year, and crop rotation should be adopted, and we need to do deep summer plowing so the pupal stage of the pest can be destroyed. And the crop should be inspected from time to time, and especially if ever we can do it every week, then better. This one's the same control measures as before. Let's move forward to soybean. So here you can see the photo of soybean on-farm seed production, which is in Isabela. So region 2, again, like peanut, is one of the top producers of soybean. Let's proceed with the insect pest of soybean, Glycine Max. First is the girdle beetle or Oberea brevis. The larvae are white, soft-bodied worm with the dark head, and the adult, the freshly emerged adult, is yellow, red-brown on the head, thorax, and bases of elytra. The adult beetle is characterized by its yellow-red head and chest coloration and brown-colored bases of elytra or the wing covers. The eggs are laid in between girdles by the females, and larvae will bore into stem and feed on the inside, forming a tunnel in the stem. The symptoms of damage: girdling of stems and petioles. The inside of the stem is eaten by the larvae and a tunnel is formed inside the stem. So you can see on the photo that the larvae is inside the stem and have a tunnel on the stem. So the incidence of girdle beetles is observed at the seedling stage. The presence of two circular cuts on the branch or stem is a characteristic symptom. Larvae bore into the stem of soybean. The inside of the stem is eaten by the larvae, forming tunnels within the stem. The infected portion above the circular cut is unable to get any nutrition, so it dries up. In the later stages of infestation, the plant is severed at about 15 to 25 centimeters above the ground. The main damage is caused by the larvae of the insect. The attack of the insect initially begins in the last week of July, the first week of August. The insect remains active from July to October, damaging the crop most severely during August and September. Heavy incidents may reduce the yield by up to 40%. So what are the symptoms of damage? The eggs are laid on leaves. After hatching from the egg, yellowish maggots bore the nearest vein of the leaf. Then the maggot then reach the stem through the petiole and bore down the stem. If the infected stem is opened by splitting, distinct zigzag reddish tunnel can be seen with maggot or pupa inside it. And the maggots feed on cortical layers of the stem. and may extend to taproot, killing the plant. How do we manage it? Practice deep summer plowing. Sow the crop at the proper time. Example, at the onset of monsoon with the recommended seed rate of 75 kilograms per hectare, and the crop should not be overcrowded. Sow tolerant varieties. Avoid excess nitrogenous fertilizers and destroy crop residues. Collect and destroy infested plant parts and at least once every 10 days. And apply pesticides if pest population crosses the economic threshold level or the 5% of damaged plants. You can spray also lambda cyhalothrin 5% EC at 10 ml or dimethoate 25% EC at 2 ml per liter of water 30 to 35 days after sowing, and repeat 15 to 20 days after the first spraying if infestation is observed. Next is the stem fly, or scientific name Melanogromyzas sojei. So the maggot are white in color and remains inside the stem, and adult its flies are shining black and about 1.60 to 1.88 millimeter long and metallic black color with a metallic shiny abdomen. Antenna, legs, and bristles on the head and thorax are all black, and the wings are transparent. So here in the photos you can see the pupa. So as same as the previous pest, the eggs are laid on leaves. After hatching from the egg, yellowish maggots bore the nearest vein of the leaf, and the maggot then reach the stem through the petiole and bore down the stem. If the infected stem is opened by splitting, again zigzag reddish tunnel can be seen with the maggot or pupa inside, and the maggots also feed on the cortical layers of the stem and may extend to taproot and killing the plant. Management, deep summer plowing, avoid pre-monsoon sowing, use optimum seed rate and plant spacing, proper crop rotation with dissimilar crops should be followed. So the life cycle of the insect will be broken. Of course, remove and destroy the damaged plant parts. And you can apply in the soil 4-8 10G at 10 kg per hectare or carbofuran 3G at 30 kg per hectare. At the time of sowing will prevent early infestation. Next is whitefly, so same as sa peanut kanina, no? Bemisia tabasi. So this is a small insect, most species with wing span of less than 3 mm and body length of 1 mm to 2 mm. So the whiteflies feed by tapping into the phloem of plants, introducing toxic saliva and decreasing the plant's overall turgor pressure. Since whiteflies congregate in large numbers, susceptible plants can be quickly overwhelmed. Further harm is done by mold growth encouraged by the honeydew whitefly secrete. And whitefly control is difficult and complex as whiteflies rapidly develop resistance to chemical pesticides. They can be controlled by non-chemical means, like several predators and parasitoids may be effective in controlling whitefly infestations, including green lacewings, ladybirds, minute pirate bugs, big-eyed bugs, damsel bugs, and phytozoid mites. In this photo on the right, you can see this is the pirate bug feeding on the whitefly larvae. So next is the hairy caterpillar. So again, this we already discussed a while ago on the peanut insect pest. So management, again, almost the same with the other insects. So you can intercrop soybean either with pigeon pea variety or maize or sorghum in sequence of 4:2 should be practiced. Field sanitation, remove the infested plant parts, light trap, and apply chlorpyrifos 20 EC at 1.5 liter per hectare, or dust chlorpyrifos 1.5% DP, or quinalfos 1.5 DP at 25 kg per hectare when the population is likely to reach 10 per meter row length, and then you repeat it as needed. Next is the tobacco caterpillar, Spodoptera litura. The egg masses appear golden brown, velvety black, yellowish green dorsal strips, and lateral white bands, gregarious in early stages. That's the larva. The pupa are red and brown in color, and the adult forewings are grayish brown color with wavy white marking. And the nature of damage is larvae feed on the chlorophyll of the leaves. The eaten leaves give the appearance of whitish yellow web. You can see here at the left photo the effect of the infestation. For management, of course, again, deep summer plowing, avoid pre-monsoon sowing, optimum seed rate should be used, collect and destroy infested plant parts, install 6 pheromone trap at 10 traps per hectare for early reduction of the pest. Then we can place bird perches also. And for the field sanitation, remove the infested plant parts at least once in 10 days and bury them in compost pit. You can also give chemical insecticides like tetraniliprol 18.18 SC at 250 to 300 ml per hectare, profenophos 50 EC 1 liter per hectare, or spinintoram 11.7 SC 450 ml per hectare. For economic thresholds, soybean crops in a tropical environment such as Philippines are regularly subject to insect attack from a wide range of species, which may result in extensive damage. In the vegetative phase, soybean can suffer up to 35% leaf loss without yield reduction. So makikita natin dito sa photo, on your leftmost is 5%, and then followed by the 15%, and then 35%, and the 45%. So sa studies, 35% pwede pa. However, once plants reach early pod yield, this figure drops to 15% leaf loss as photosynthetic area is increasingly important to maximize yield potential. Damage to seedlings before the third node stage is fatal, as plants are unable to compensate and regrow until this stage, when they begin to form axillary bud. So leaf loss in soybeans, economic thresholds for leaf loss in soybean are vegetative stage. Up to 35% leaf loss can be tolerated until the start of flowering. And the early pod fill, the threshold decreases rapidly to 15% leaf loss. On pod fill, there should be 2 larvae per meter square. For the pod-sucking insects, the amount of damage from pod-sucking insects that the soybean can tolerate depends on the age of the bugs. If it's nymph or adults, the time remaining to harvest. So the longer to harvest, the more nymphs will reach a damaging size. And the longer to harvest, the more bug damage and the lower the threshold. And the size of the crop, seeds per unit area. The more seeds, the more bugs are needed to produce critical 2% damage. Spray thresholds are 1 bug per meter square for green vegetable bug, 1.3 per meter square for the red-banded shield bug and 1.5 meter square for the brown bean bug. The damage potential of a mostly nymph population decreases as maturity approaches, as is only 56% of that for the adult-only population. So for advances ng ating pest management, surveillance, meron na tayong mga ito dito sa photo is a remote control car module with camera. So it will take photos of the insects that are infesting our plants, and then we can identify them without going through the field, just using the remote control car module. So ito ay isang memorandum na galing sa DA. This was only issued last July. So this is about public consultation regarding the draft circular entitled Enhanced Rules and Regulation on Agricultural Pesticide Application Using Remotely Piloted Aircraft System. So mga farmers na rin natin ngayon gumagamit na rin ng mga drones, no? So kaya mga drone spray operators, ayan, isa din ito sa mga advances natin sa technology. Meron din namang mga applications na ngayon na pwedeng i-access from our cell phones. So ito yung mga IPM toolkit, IPM Popillia. So you can identify yung mga insects na nasa field, and then nandun na rin yung mga data kung paano sila i-manage or i-control. IPM was pushed actually because to indiscriminate the use of insecticides dahil sa effect nito sa ating kalikasan, no? So since then, it has been stated that IPM has become the dominant crop protection paradigm, yet its adoption remains slow. Effective IPM centers on the principle of deploying multiple complementary methods for pest, weed, and disease control. IPM has been defined as a decision-based process for coordinating multiple tactics for control of all classes of pests in an ecologically and economically sound fashion. With IPM, of course, pesticide reduction may be expected. Yield increase induced by IPM are more complex. IPM may, for example, reduce the incidence of severe loss years, though not increase yields in a normal year, thus increasing mean production across years. So yun nga, yung IPM hindi siguradong madadagdagan yung kita, no? But of course, the pesticide reduction and yung impact nito sa environment is very significant. Ito na may mga cultural methods na pwede nating i-adapt, no? Like sanitation, tillage, and intercultivation, cultivar selection, time sowing, plant population, manures and fertilizers, water management, and habitat diversification. So, ayan. So, with the use of IPM, hindi lang siya simple, no? Napaka-complex ng IPM. So, kailangan natin ng research and outreach. So, kailangan natin i-consider yung pest management, knowledge and resources, planning and organization, and communication to the farmers. And again, also, we need to consider the environmental safety and economic viability ng ating IPM. And most especially yung social acceptability, no? Kung hindi tanggap ng ating mga farmers and ng ating mga producers, ng consumer, ng seller, so mababaliwala yung ating mga pinaghirapan sa sa research ng IPM. IPM may be viewed as a form of sustainable intensification that increase synergies between social, human, and natural capital. Benefits go beyond increased crop yields and, depending on the system in use, may include improved soil health, livestock integration, and income diversification. IPM is an approach that changes with time as economic thresholds improve, new control strategies are developed, and more is learned about the crop, the pests, and all the natural enemies that are present in each particular field. Integrated pest management can be seen as a continuum, and the goal is to move further along the continuum to using all appropriate and available strategies. Thank you very much.